Perfect. And we're about to get started. The second virtual event of some of these good folks. So welcome everybody to our virtual event on food security during COVID-19. I'm Lindsay LaPointe, the state representative of the 19th House District, and I am so pleased to co-host this event with Senator Rob Martwick of the 10th Senate District and Alderman Nick Sposato of the 38th Ward. As you probably know, if you live on the far northwest side of Chicago or in the near northwest suburbs, Senator Martwick and I are your state lawmakers, while Alderman Sposato works at the city level on municipal ordinances and a whole lot of city services. We are very pleased today to have experts joining us from the Greater Chicago Food Depository, but also one of our tremendous local food pantries, St. Cyprian. So thank you, Claudia and Colleen and Jean, for coming to the table. Excuse me, Joan. So we are going to talk about how COVID has impacted food access and current resources, and we will certainly leave some time for questions. We as state lawmakers, we go to Springfield and we draft and vote on state laws, and we connect constituents to state services, and we do a lot of liaisoning with state agencies, including the Department of Employment Security and the Department of Human Services. During the time of COVID, we're primarily working remotely, and our remote offices are fielding a ton of questions about accessing unemployment, about how people should be interpreting directives coming from the governor's office. And we're actually fielding a fair amount of questions about food assistance. So we are providing information about food pantries in our area and how households can access SNAP benefits. And we'll touch a little bit today on what SNAP benefits are, but just keep in the back of your brain, also known as link card, also known as food stamps, and SNAP benefits is the new name for that form of food assistance. As a state lawmaker and as a leader in the neighborhood, and I'm sure Alderman Sposato and Senator Martwick agree, we know that there were food insecurity issues before COVID and that they have been exponentially increased because of COVID. Most of the constituent questions we're getting right now at the state level are related to unemployment. And of course, that is indicative that people are dealing with pretty severe reductions in their monthly income. And of course, that's going to mean people are going to struggle with food access. So we're going to hear about things going on at the city level through the Greater Chicago Food Depository. We're going to hear about hyperlocal assistance through St. Cyprian, which is located by Narragansett and Irving. I want to share just a few things that the city and the state has done at the really, I would say pretty quickly at the beginning of the pandemic to make sure people had more access to food assistance. At the city level, Chicago Public Schools shifted to a grab and go meal model when the schools closed. And this is to make sure that the families who normally get free and reduced breakfast and lunch still have a way to access food. And any family with children, whether you're actually a CPS household or not, can access these grab and go meals, and you don't have to go to the school that your child goes to. So we've just made it easier for households to access food. At the state level, and a lot of the things related to food access will come through the Illinois Department of Human Services. We've made some changes to make access easier and to kind of cut down on all the hoops people would have to jump through to renew. And we were able to increase benefits for people on their link card for April and May, and we are about to do that for June. It's just not a done deal yet, but so to make sure that people on fixed incomes who maybe normally get $20 a month in link card benefits would get the full amount. And for a single person, that would be about $178 a month. So we've made some tweaks at the city level and the state level. I'm also very proud to say that just on the neighborhood level, if you follow any of our neighborhood Facebook groups, you'll see that individuals are always willing to step up to help with food assistance. And that makes me feel really good about where we live and just knowing that people are always ready to step up. So that's all I'll say at right now. And I will hand it over to Senator Martwick to say a few words, and then Alderman Sposato before we really get going.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here today, Alderman Sposato, and all of our panelists. I'm really happy to be a part of this. I'm really proud to be a part of this, this panel discussion to learn a little bit about, I think one of the most important things we do a right to cut it as legislators. Hey, Alderman, can you hear me? Alderman?
Yes, can you hear me?
Nick? Yeah, maybe you want to put yourself on mute until you speak, because we're hearing you having conversations in your background there.
All right. Well, how do I put myself on mute?
There you go. Yep, and then when we call on you, just make sure you take yourself off of mute. There we go. Now you're on mute. Excellent. Just wanted to say thank you again. I think this is such an important issue, as this has happened, again, I'll echo the sentiments of Representative LaPointe. We've seen some great things in the neighborhood, groups coming together, doing food drives to help make sure our food pantries are stocked. And those are great, but we need to do more. And I think this discussion is very important for people to understand this. Representative LaPointe brought up what we were able to do in a budget, and I think that's important. And I'll just digress a little bit about budget philosophy and why we did maybe what we did. Anytime you do anything politically, there are people going to have different opinions on it. And at this time, with the terrible financial crisis that we're dealing with COVID, there are a lot of people who said, cut, 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 cut. And there's two different philosophies, and the philosophy that Governor Pritzker and I think most of the members of the Democratic caucus adopted throughout this budget discussion was, at a time when people are suffering so much, cutting the basic benefits that help people get by would only exacerbate the economic problem, right? These are consumers. When you give link benefits to someone, they spend that in a grocery store. It is economic activity. And so we thought, as the entire economy was contracting, that it was essential for us in government to make sure that we kept spending on critical things, to make sure people, for the moral purpose of making sure that those who are struggling to keep their heads above water, but also it's an economic benefit. Government is an essential part of our economy, and we are the sector of the economy that bolsters the rest of the economy at times like this. So it was very important for us to pass a budget that made sure that we gave people that extra bit of security, that made sure that those critical services were there for them at this time. And so I'm very proud of the budget that was passed, and the work that was done by the General Assembly to get that done. And I think we are in a better situation because of it. So once again, I'm very happy to be part of this, looking forward to, as most things I do as a member of the General Assembly, listening and learning. So thank you very much, Lindsay, for inviting me. Thank you, panelists, for joining us, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you for co-hosting, Rob. All right, Alderman, you got to unmute yourself, and we'd love to hear from you. There you go.
Am I unmuted?
You are.
I'm on 2 Zoom meetings right now, so it's I'm multitasking, and the office is slammed, getting busy right now. So, hey, I volunteered at a local food pantry at Harlem and Armitage for over 10 years. I was a volunteer at the Salvation Army for over 10 years. And plus my union, we always did well, it was more of a toy drive every year, not a food drive, but I'm very well-versed on Greater Chicago Food Depository. I used to go there once a week to pick up food. And we've got a food drive going on over here, but unfortunately I'm a little bit disappointed on what we've received. So we've done really great with the dogs, blankets, pillows, towels, the troops. People have been giving us money, but as far as the food, we don't have a whole heck of a lot. We do have some stuff that I'm going to be dropping off, but I just encourage you and Senator Martwick to somewhat try to have a food drive, and a lot going on in people's lives right now. So there's people needing help all over the place. So, but this is in our own backyard, our own neighborhood. I know they've been hurting. I don't know where they get their money from. be nice someday when things change, maybe throw a local fundraiser. So.
Absolutely. Those are all really, really great ideas. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this event is to not only just share information with people about what's the need and what resources are, but I think these kind of events can be a trigger for leaders like us then having a food drive and making sure our local pantries have what they need.
Yeah, and who's in charge over there now? My understanding it was Josh. He's not in charge?
Josh is there, but you're about to meet Joan.
So Joan,
So-
is Josh in charge or are you in charge, Joan?
Joan is the executive director. I'm in charge. Josh is my technology whiz son-in-law,
Okay.
and he
he's
does a lot
good,
for me.
he's a good right-hand man to have, you know. So
Absolutely.
he's moving and shaking, and we set something up with the Jewel. I hope that's going, Josh, but for them to a drop in there, so that might be a big boost to the pantry.
Great. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Alderman. Thank you for helping that Jewel. The Jewel is going well, but thank you very much for that. I
Let
appreciate
Josh
it.
come in so I know what he looks like. Josh, come into the screen there.
All right.
Hi, Josh.
How you doing?
And
Good
now
morning,
I-
guys. Thank you guys
If
again.
I
Thank you
ever
for
see you on the street,
Senator.
now I can say hi, Josh.
You're
Thank you,
you're
thank
both
you very much.
amazing. Joan and Josh, when we visited your food pantry, you could tell you were running the show. You knew what to do, and it's clear you have a lot of activity over there. So thanks for being with us today, and we'll turn it
You could
over
come
to
in.
Joan and Claudia to
Thank
talk
you.
about the impact of COVID on food accessibility.
Am I gonna mute again?
Yeah, you have to give that.
Claudia, you are muted.
Yes. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so, as you mentioned, even before COVID, a lot of people in our community were already struggling to make ends meet and to put food on their table. But now with COVID, even more people are struggling. And it's really, I've been in the organization for 9 years, and I've never seen anything like this ever before. We have millions of people who are unemployed or have lost, her hours have been cut, who really cannot afford to purchase food and are really struggling. But there are also a lot of other vulnerable groups of people that have been affected. At the beginning of this pandemic, we received a lot of calls from seniors and people with medical conditions who had been advised to stay home because they're considered high risk. And a lot of the people live alone or were getting assistance from caretakers, and now we're left to just fend for themselves and didn't have anyone to get groceries for them. So we received a lot of calls just saying, I'm running out of food. I'm not gonna have any food next week. I need help. Also, as you mentioned, a lot of children depend on the free meals that they get while they're in school. So the free breakfast, free lunch, but now with the school closures, they don't have access to those meals. Another group of people that, sometimes doesn't get mentioned is undocumented individuals who unfortunately are not eligible for unemployment or the stimulus payment, who really don't have a way to afford food at this time. So here at the Food Depository, we work with a great network of partner agencies like St. Cyprian, and we've seen a huge increase in the need for food and also people applying for food stamps, for benefits. And we expect the need to continue, in the weeks, months, and maybe even years to come.
Thank you for that, Claudia. I can just feel how the whole sheltering in place order, people need a lot more help. And oftentimes people that, not always, but sometimes people that have kind of baseline food needs also have mobility issues, or maybe if you're on a fixed income, you are on a fixed income because of some sort of physical or mental health disability, and to go out in these times that are even more challenging is even more challenging. So
Right.
Thank you. Joan, we'll turn it over to you for some local perspective.
Well, our problems are our immediate problems in the food pantry have to do with the weather and have to do with we have to bring all the food and everything outside the pantry. We have tables set up outside. We're out there in all kinds of weather. When this started, it was quite cold. A couple weeks ago, you remember the horrible downpour we had, and my workers were out there taking care of everyone. We dealt with 133 people that day who stood in the rain for a couple hours waiting to be taken care of. All the food must be brought outside. So our dairy and our produce is brought out in carts. And so the people can still choose that. But the rest of the food, the dry food, we have grocery carts, we fill them, and then we put a bag of meat in them and then pass it, go outside. A volunteer takes the people through our tables, the dairy and the produce, and then they're on their way. Then when they're done with their cart, it comes back and we have a cart wash, as it were. And so the carts are completely sprayed down with bleach water, which also leads to another little problem my ladies aren't always pleased with, is we all have bleach splaps across the front of our shirts, but we're dealing with it. And our big problem right now is dealing with the heat and things like our dairy, having to take very little outside, so we can't really get ahead. We have to just keep bringing stuff out because I don't dare leave the milk and stuff outside during in this heat. So those are a few of the problems that we can deal with. We also could use some more younger, or let's say more muscular volunteers to help unload trucks. But otherwise, we're going strong and we're going to be here for a long time to come.
Thank you, Joan. Joan, can you tell us about what your services looked like before COVID and what they look like now? You've done a little of that, but I'm curious, have you seen an increased number of people showing up?
Unbelievable increase. A typical Monday, 20, 30 guests. Now a typical Monday is 150 guests. Typical Thursday was 60, 70 people. Now a typical Thursday is 160 some people. Yeah, it's just, the numbers are just immense,
Wow.
And people are coming who we can tell they genuinely need the food. They're taking everything there is. They love telling the story. My mother, we'd go in the kitchen when my mother's cooking dinner and say, well, I'm hungry, what can I have to eat? And she'd say, well, there's a grain cracker, there's an apple. Oh, I don't want that. Then you're not hungry, and send them on the way. Our people come into us and this is what we have, dried beans, and we have this and then, and they take it. They take just about every bit of it. They're willing to take it home and try cooking it. And that tells me they're hungry. Mm-hmm. And that tells me they need the food. Some of our people ride the buses or are walking a lot, and they won't take everything because the cans, get heavy in that. But that's the only reason why food gets left in the cart, is because they really just can't carry it all. So yeah. People are hungry and they need the food and they need the help.
What geographic areas do you serve, Joan?
We usually serve on the pre-pandemic 606-34-39-41-56 and 60707 on the Chicago side. Now, all you have to do is walk up, tell us your zip code, and we're getting them now from far reaches of the city. And they have to tell us their zip code, how many people in their family, and whether or not they get food stamps. We don't even request an ID.
Got it. Wow, the flexibility that nonprofits and food pantries and ministries have shown in this moment to really recognize that the need has just increased exponentially, and therefore to kind of be really stringent and inflexible about screening people can honestly be traumatic for people. And when they've come from even 3 neighborhoods away on a bus, to then be turned away it's a lot to handle. So I really appreciate that your pantry is being more flexible due to the need.
Yes, thank you. We try very hard. Nobody leaves hungry.
That's a great North Star. Can either of you talk about how COVID has impacted your normal volunteer base? You touched a little bit on that, Joan, but I'd like to hear too from the food depository point of view, and kind of what does the normal volunteer base look like and how has that changed?
Yeah, so I can start. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So, I'll start by saying that we are very fortunate to get a lot of volunteers, even pre-COVID. But since the pandemic, we're struggling to get volunteers because people are scared to be exposed, which is understandable. But now more than ever, we need volunteers because some of our partner agencies have changed their distribution models. So instead of being client choice, are now doing pre-packed boxes or pre-packed bags. So we need volunteers in the warehouse to help pack those boxes that get delivered. So we are always in need of volunteers, especially now.
Our volunteers, I don't want to brag or let other pantries know that we're doing so well, but we have between 20, 25, and 30 volunteers each day. And 5 of my volunteers are in their 80s. So we do have a lot of older people helping us out. It's the younger people with muscle that we need. And fortunately for us, people that we have taken care of or we have helped are waiting for food, will say, we could use some help. And then they come and help us. So we're doing okay. We're doing okay. I understand other pantries have had to close, but we're also very, very careful about our health. And we all wear our masks, we wear our gloves, we sanitize everything. No one is allowed into our building, including if they have to use the bathroom, they have to go someplace else. We're very careful about it. So we're doing fine. 10 or 11 weeks is it that we're doing this, and no one's gotten sick yet.
That's amazing. A testament to all the precautions that you're taking. And it's not only important for your volunteers, but also for all the clients that come. You
Yes.
see a lot of people, people.
Yes. We certainly.
So when a few of us visited St. Cyprian, at this point, maybe it was about a month ago, we got to meet you, Joan, we got to meet Josh. And one of my big takeaways was the picture that you both painted of what it looks like in the morning when people come and line up, and how tense things can get, and also how early in the morning people come. Can you talk about, just paint us a picture of what the food pantry even looks like on a morning when you're open?
Well, on a morning when we open, we usually have people showing up between volunteers between 7:30. Some of our clients show up at 6:30 and they get in line and they stand there, or now they're bringing chairs, their lawn chairs and milk crates and whatever to sit on, but starting at 6:30, and we make a point of not starting until precisely 9 o'clock because we don't want to change things. And they wait very, very patiently until we start. And then some of them still have to wait some more time because you can't start with everyone at the same time. But by 8 o'clock, most of my volunteers are there, although they keep coming until 9. And the people keep coming until 11 o'clock. It's just fantastic. We just don't stop. We just don't stop. It eases, but, and the people are patiently waiting. We get a few frayed nerves when people think that other people are getting in front of them, but we pass out tickets now. So that solves a lot of problems. You can stand in the shade if you want, but you got that ticket and listen for us to call it. But,
and I imagine that you and Josh and others, you take charge.
Yes. And we're the law, so to speak. Yes.
That's important when nerves are high and people are anxious that they may or may not get
Things
what is,
don't go right when people are hungry.
that's right.
That's it. Things don't go right, whether it's in your house, in church, in the pantry, in the city, things don't go right. And in the classroom.
Yep, absolutely. Claudia, can you talk more about tweaks that either the Greater Chicago Food Depository has made, but also I touched on this a little bit in my opening, but you're the expert. More about how we've made tweaks related to link card. It's my understanding that we've made some tweaks related to online purchases related to link card. Can you go into some more detail about that?
Sure. We at the Food Depository, we have a benefits outreach program, and we assist individuals apply for benefits over the phone. So I can talk a little bit about that, and then I can share what some of the changes that have been made to the SNAP program. So as you mentioned, households with SNAP receive the maximum amount for March, April, and May. We're still waiting to hear from June. Also, another great thing that the state was approved for was SNAP households who were due to renew their benefits in March, April, or May, they were given a 6-month extension. And actually for June, it was just approved as well. So that means that they don't have to submit any documents, any forms, their benefits automatically get renewed. The state also applied for an online waiver, which would allow SNAP participants to purchase food online. And it was approved, and it just started June 2nd. So it just started this week. So people who have SNAP are able to purchase food as of this point, just on Amazon and Walmart, but they are encouraging other retailers to apply. And then another waiver that the state got was the telephonic signature waiver, which allows state outreach partners to submit online applications for clients over the phone. So, for our team, a lot of the calls that we were getting from clients and still get from clients is they want to apply for benefits. So the way we were doing things before is we would do the paper application and then mail it to the client's home, get a signature, they would mail it back, then we would submit it to the state. But with this new waiver, we can assist families over the phone and submit an online application, and it gets submitted directly to the state for processing. So it doesn't only cut down on our administrative work, but it connects individuals to benefits a lot quicker. And also helps the Department of Human Services. They're not a fan of getting paper applications. And also, obviously, with the pandemic, their caseloads have increased by the thousands. So anything community organizations can do to help with their workload, we're willing to do so. That waiver right now is only good until the end of June. But we are hoping it's a permanent thing, because I'm sure people will continue needing help with benefits.
Yeah, that's a lot of changes that the state was able to make pretty quickly. And sometimes state government isn't known as being the most nimble.
Right. But I also wanted to add a little bit about our benefits team. I mentioned, so we do help anyone in Cook County apply for benefits. We also have great partners like St. Cyprian, who have been trained to assist individuals apply for SNAP. But just to give you an insight as to how much our volume has increased before COVID. So January, February, we were getting an average of 150 calls a week to our hotline. And since the stay-at-home order, so March 16, there were weeks when we were averaging about 1,500 calls a week. And a lot of the calls that we were getting were from people who obviously had just lost their job. We were getting a lot of people who are undocumented but have, citizen or resident children who in the past have never applied for benefits, but now feel like they have no choice. Like they're not eligible for unemployment. They don't have any money to buy food. But a lot of people looking for assistance with applying for SNAP. Not only SNAP, also medical insurance, because if you lose your job and you can't afford COBRA, you don't have health insurance. So a lot of costs, a lot of people needing to apply for benefits.
Yeah, that's a great point about bringing Medicaid into the conversation, and something that I just want to make sure everybody knows, and that is that if you do lose your job, that is considered a qualifying event, and then you can just go ahead and make that application to the Medicaid system. You don't have to wait for any open enrollment period.
Right.
So if somebody is listening right now and either they have never accessed SNAP benefits before, or maybe they know that their neighbor is in need of more food access, what is kind of the easiest way to make that application for SNAP benefits?
Yeah, for people who have access to the internet, the fastest way is to use the state's online application and submit an application online. That website is abe.illinois.gov. So that is the fastest way. They can apply there for SNAP medical cash assistance, and also a new child nutrition program called PEBT, that families who have children who are receiving free or reduced lunch are eligible to receive those benefits. Unfortunately, that benefit does end this month, but they can still apply. So the fastest way is applying online. The state also has a hotline where people can apply. That number is 1-800-843-6154. Or like I mentioned, we have a benefits team that screens people for eligibility, completes the application over the phone, and then submits the application to the state for processing.
Got it. Thank you. I like to kind of break down what is the process, because I think that if people have never done it before, they might be intimidated. And I also think, I know that during this time of COVID, we're streamlining things because there's more need and because offices aren't open and fully functioning. And so I think it's important for people to know that it's not that difficult to apply. And then right now, there's an increased benefit. And I think that's important because sometimes if there's a person out there, and I know there's a lot because I just got some emails yesterday from constituents who normally get $16 a month in their SNAP benefits, which I'm sure we can all agree is not a lot. That might cover like a fourth of a trip to a very affordable grocery store. If you only get $16 a month and you think you have to go through this long, arduous process to apply and think about leaving the house, you're not going to do it. And so it's extra important to know that the way to access benefits is more streamlined now, and at least for March, April, May, and sounds like June, although we don't know for sure yet, that person will get more like $178 in food assistance.
Lindsay, can I interrupt and ask you a question? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
You said SNAP benefits are $16 a month. That's 50 cents a day. I mean, that doesn't sound right to me.
That is, see, it's contingent on what somebody's income is. So
Correct.
I'll give you an example, and I'm going to ballpark here, but if there's a senior who is on a fixed income of let's say $800 a month, and they apply for SNAP, they're going to be approved for something like $16 a month. Does that sound right, Claudia?
It doesn't sound right to me because it probably costs them more to give them the $16 and the 16 is worth. So, but I just want to make sure I heard you right. That was sounding like a ridiculous number to me. I know it's based off of income. I didn't know anybody would get that little. I would guess the least amount was probably about $250 a month. So.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
like it depends on, you know, how much you make, your expenses. And for seniors,
Right.
that is what we hear very often, that my neighbor only gets 16, so I don't want to go through the whole process. But we try to explain to them that every case is different. And if you have medical expenses, that can help the benefit amount that you get. Also, I know $16 it's not a lot of money, but the way we try to present it, especially for seniors, is think of it as a coupon. You know, think of it, would you turn down $16 if you found them? Or use it as your milk budget. So of course it won't cover your whole grocery budget, but it's something. And, you know, right now the process to get benefits, it is a little bit more streamlined because of the high number of caseloads that the offices have. The state is, if you submit an application for SNAP, if they can verify your income electronically, you don't have to submit any documents. Also, they're not doing interviews for everyone. So they are trying to connect and process cases as fast as possible. Also, one thing that I want to let people know is that you can request a phone interview, especially right now, the offices are not open. So everyone who is getting interviews over the phone. But once the offices start reopening, you have the right to request a phone interview if you have transportation issues, daycare issues, medical issues. And also, I think it's important for people to know that there are organizations out there that can walk them through the process so they don't have to apply on their own, because the application can be a little confusing, you know, even for someone that has been doing this work for a long time like myself. So I can understand why a senior would be intimidated to fill out a 17-page paper application. But there are organizations out there that can help with the process.
Glad we pulled that out. Alderman, I doubt you're the only person to be shocked that some people are getting $16 a month in their SNAP benefits. And I've seen a lot of that. I used to be a social worker at a church ministry and worked with a lot of seniors who are on fixed income of about $700 to $1,000 a month. And of course, that monthly income has to cover housing and food and medicine and everything. So it's easy to see how people are really living on the margins all over the city of Chicago. So we have some questions that came in, but I would also like to be really clear about how people can help and get involved. And whatever we kind of talk about here, we'll make sure to archive it and get phone numbers and websites up on Facebook too. But Joan,
Yes.
let's start with you. Some people are commenting on Facebook and they're saying you're amazing and they love St. Cyprian, and other people I think are hearing about what you do for the first time.
Thank you all so much. One thing we have a problem with is getting the food to the people. First of all, people come to us and get in line and everything, and they have no idea how much food they're getting. And then they don't have a way to get it home. And I have some fabulous volunteers who load them up in their cars and drive them home and come back and work. So then also, we have people call us and say, listen, I can't get out, I need help. And my volunteers and I load up a bag or a box and take them the food. We have teamed up with Oak Street Health, who deals with senior citizens. And once a week, they give us a list of names. We pack food up for them, and then Oak Street comes and gets the boxes and stuff and delivers it for us. Looking for other ways to help, simple little things that people can do in their own neighborhood. If you know that there is somebody in your family or in your neighborhood around you that's really on the margin when it comes to food, tell them about St. Cyprian. Tell them every Monday and Thursday they can come over between 9 and 11 and stand there, and we will get them a load of food. And we don't ask any other questions except what's your zip code, how many people in your family, and are you getting SNAP? And none of those answers will influence how much food you get. So that'd be one thing. Also, some people are having food drives, and we talk about the aldermen and other people having food drives, but people can also have a food drive on their block. Let their neighbors know that on Saturday at 2 o'clock, they're going to be collecting canned goods for the pantry, and then have everybody drop off the canned goods at their house, and then they bring them over to the pantry. Very simple stuff. We also love cash, because then when we have some cash money, we get to go to our stores and buy macaroni and cheese is a biggie, noodles, bread, cereal, lots of cereal. We go through a lot of cereal, things like that. So we do appreciate cash money. Then, oh, one very, very important thing. On September 8th, and I got my fingers crossed, I hope it's still going to go off, and we'll be in our 4th phase of the city. The Chicago Food Depository has their hunger walk, September 8th at Jackson Park. And you can go online to sign up, but you can also come to, excuse me, I don't know if you can sign up just yet for it. Usually it's much closer to the walk when we sign people up. But you can also come to the food pantry and we'll take your name and phone number and everything and your information, and we'll sign you up when the time comes. It's just remember though, that when you sign up, you need to show up. That's a very important part of it. And the hunger walk raises lots of money for us. At St. Cyprian's, the money we raise at our hunger walk pays for our Thanksgiving and Christmas meat. So it's very important to all the food pantries. And of course, right now, cash is the word. Thank you.
Thank you. What about you, Claudia, in terms of how people can help right in this moment?
Yeah, I would say the biggest way they can help is by making a donation. They can go to our website to make a donation. You know, like Joan said, cash is king. And if we get financial donations, then we're able to purchase the food that's needed the most. We're also able to cover, you know, the gas to keep trucks on the road and also support our partner agencies. And also volunteers. We desperately need volunteers. So to sign up for a shift, to make a donation, to get more information about starting a food drive or an online food drive, they can go to our website. That's chicagosfoodbank.org.
Excellent. Thank you. And I'm remembering what Joan said about able-bodied volunteers who can make sure they get that food out of the truck and inside quickly.
Big help, big help.
I'm going to just ask a few questions that popped up here on the Facebook chat for anyone to answer. Here's an easy one for you, Alderman Sposato, because I think you were doing a food drive pretty recently. Can food still be dropped off at your office, Alderman?
We have an ongoing food drive. We put in our email blast again today. We're continually doing the food drive. We're probably never going to stop. So just like our animal drive, we're always going. But I have been a little disappointed, but for the money for the troops has really been coming in. So maybe they overlooked the food pantry and are taking care of the troops. I don't know. Just literally as we're on this meeting, somebody just stopped by and dropped off a $500 check for Feed the Troops. So
that is amazing.
Yeah, well, we got a decent amount of food for the pantry, but it's just a drop in a bucket for, you know, what they need. So
Every little bit.
And your drive that you're doing now, which we're going to be really clear, it's ongoing, so people know that they can drop food at your office. Is it directly to St. Cyprian, or are there other pantries involved?
no, we're just supporting St. Cyprian's.
Okay, excellent. Well, I'll make sure I blast that out.
Okay.
How about people who are experiencing homelessness? Because I'm sure that I know that our regular kind of soup kitchens aren't open and shelters have changed the way they're doing things. Is anyone delivering food to people experiencing homelessness right now, wherever they may be?
But the homeless people usually come to us. We don't really go out looking for them. They come to us, and then we make sure we have cans that have pop tops and bread. And we have some things like lunch meat, sliced ham, and sliced turkey breast. Of course, produce, oranges and apples for sure. We have a stash of can openers. We don't broadcast that too much, but we do have some can openers if people are really need to get the cans open. We have cans of soup. We do have soup for them, and those have pop tops, and bread and some sweets, things that they can eat cold, all kinds of stuff. We do feed our homeless.
And we do have some soup kitchens that we partner with. So the easiest way to locate a soup kitchen is going to our website and clicking on the Find Food and entering the zip code. And we do have some soup kitchens that are currently operating as well.
Great. This is kind of a random question, but important to make sure food pantries can be run during the summer. Does anyone ever use dry ice for dairy and keeping it cold?
No, we have never tried that. We try keep it in the refrigerator until the last minute.
Got it. All right. Well, I'm gonna monitor and see if anyone else has questions, but I want to see if the alderman or Senator Martwick or even Colleen, who's also joined us from the Greater Chicago Food Depository, are there any questions that you have or things you want to bring out?
I just have one thing that I wanted to reinforce. Claudia mentioned earlier that there's a new benefit available to families with children, PEBT. If you have a school-aged child who qualifies for free or reduced lunch, this benefit is now available to you. And even if you are just applying now, if you were eligible, let's say way back into March when schools closed, you will receive benefits all the way retroactive to March. So we're really trying to encourage families with children to apply for that benefit. If your child already qualifies for free or reduced price lunch, you need to apply for PEBT benefits through the Department of Human Services. So that website that Claudia mentioned earlier, abe.illinois.gov, that's abe.illinois.gov. You can apply there for benefits.
Okay, that's so good to know. I have a few questions about that. So even though it's a kind of a separate program, if a family applied, would it sort of look like SNAP benefits? Like it would just be more money on the SNAP benefit card that somebody could take to the grocery store?
Correct. So if you are already a SNAP household, you'll receive those benefits on the card. If you're not currently a SNAP household, then you'll be issued a card.
Okay. Do you know if school principals are spreading the word on this?
Yes, so we have been working very closely with the State Board of Education to get the word out, make sure that our school districts are all aware. So as you probably know, our schools have been doing, a grab and go option at many schools. But we really wanted to get the word out on this program because this program is designed to replace the value of the school meals that your child would have been receiving had the school been open. And so the program will end when the school year closes in just a few short days. So we wanted to make sure that the word's getting out to families to apply right now.
Okay. And what is the exact deadline?
I believe it's June 7th. Claudia, is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah.
June 7th, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more information, so CPS also has a benefits team. I believe they have like 15 benefit coordinators that help families apply for benefits. So I know they've been heavily promoting PEBT as well.
Joan, for that PEBT program, is that something that you talk to families about who have children in CPS?
Actually, no, we don't do much talking about it. There just isn't enough time. We tell them about our food program, and that's what they're mostly interested in. No, in all honesty, I haven't bragged about the other programs, but sounds like a lovely program. We have told parents that during the school year, they could go to the school and get breakfast and lunch for their children, but that's as far as we have gone talking about things.
Yep, the grab and go.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense, but also it kind of brings up a good point, and it highlights what the role of aldermen and state legislators are. We do a lot of things, but part of our role is just being leaders in the community, hearing what's going on the ground, what resources are available, and then using our platforms to get that information out to people. And the fact that just a few days ago, CPS Grab and Go was closed for one day on Monday because of what we're facing in terms of civil unrest and racial injustice. And the city made the decision to close Grab and Go for one day. I can't tell you how many people I saw on Facebook and neighborhood groups across the Northwest side, just where I was looking, that were saying, I'm here, I'll step up, I'll bring food to anyone who needs it. So my bigger point is that this is such a great conversation because it gives us the information that we need, that we can then get out to people really quickly and jump into those neighborhood Facebook conversations and tell people, here's how you can help. Oh, you have high school students that need some things to do? Well, call Joan at St. Cyprian because she could use some people to unload the trucks.
Absolutely. We sure can help, use the help. Thank you.
Excellent. Senator or Alderman, we're getting close to 1 o'clock. I'll check the questions on Facebook one more time, but do you have any questions or things you want to, reflections you want to share?
You know, I've enjoyed listening to this conversation and learning a lot. You know, I know that I'm going to have a moment here where I'm going to forget the name of the church, but we participated in a food drive, bought some food and brought it over to a church that of course was donated to St. Cyprian. But I think what I'm learning from this discussion is that we're at a time when there are a lot of people who have never needed anything. And suddenly, because of where they're at, because of economic insecurity, financial insecurity, it leads inevitably to food insecurity. And so there are people who have never needed this sort of assistance. And so, you talk about there's just a disconnect. It never needed to look for it, don't know how to, needed to get connected. And I think that's really one of the good things that we have coming out of this little conversation is letting people know that it's okay, step up. The good side of that is that there are a whole lot of people who never really had to step up and volunteer to help out their neighborhood. But as we've seen throughout this conversation, there have been so many people who've stepped up to help their neighbors. So we're in a good situation. We're all coming together, but we need to continue to make those connections so that Joan can get her strapping young volunteers to unload her trucks. And
Thank you.
I know it's a tough time, but people can think about where they're going to, spread around their precious charitable contributions. And I think this would be, if you're looking to help your neighbors, this would be a good place to do it. So, and I also learned that Alderman Sposato's food drive is never ending. And so instead of taking up his call to have my own food drive, I am just going to, like you, Lindsay, I'm going to add that into my working together. Let's make this efficient. We're going to push for a food drive and try and get supplies taken over to his office, since we know that he'll always be accepting.
That's the way to do it. I'm going to do that too. Alderman, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I'm sorry. Let's just try to get the word out there as best as possible. And then once everything's settled down and it gets back to normal, let's talk about having a fundraiser. I just threw a fundraiser for an animal rescue recently. We raised like $15,000. So people want to give. People around here are generous. So hopefully, I don't say hopefully, I know it's going to calm down. So let's maybe try to think about doing something in the fall to raise some money to help out the pantry. And I listen, 5 days a week, pretty much, 8 hours a day, they could drop food off over here. So obviously non-perishable. So just a reminder to everybody.